Hello, kindergartners. How are you doing today? I'm hoping that you're doing really well. Today we meet again, and this time we have a science lesson. In kindergarten, our science unit is Animals 2 by 2. And we've been talking about different animals in groups of two. We started out talking about the goldfish and the platyfish, and now we are going to be talking about earthworms, the two worms that we are going to be comparing are the night crawlers and the red worms. They're both earthworms, so since they're both earthworms, we are going to do only one scientific illustration and talk in general about earthworms. So scientists, as a scientist, I can name the structures and functions of a night crawler and a red worm. And as a scientist, I can mention at least 3 facts about earthworms. So we are going to go ahead and get started with a illustration of an earthworm. Just like other animals, earthworms have a body. And I'm going to start by drawing this body of a worm, and right here I'm going to draw the tail in, and I'm going to come making this wiggly line all the way here, and I'm going to stop right here because worms have this fatter part closer to the head that it is called the clitellum, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it as we get to it. But then past the clitellum, the body of the worm continues is just not as long because the clitellum is closer to the head. Okay, so this is somewhat what they look like. And I'm going to close this here a little bit more because there is not really gap right there. It's just that these big fat parts right here closer to the head, the clitellum or the saddle, is definitely bigger. It's almost like a ring. Just pretend this is right here your wrist, and then you have like a bracelet or something in the outside. It's kind of that analogy. They have their long body, which is almost like a tube, and then they have this ring in the outside right there, mostly the adult worms closer to the head. Okay, so earthworms also all over their body have a whole bunch of lines that we see and we call segments. Right now I'm going to go ahead and just label what we have right here. This is the tail, T A I L. This is the tail end. I don't know if you ever hold a worm on your hand, but when you look at them, they almost look like they have 2 ends and they are the same. But no, they're not the same. The one that's the furthest away from the clitellum is the tail. And the other end, which we call anterior end, is where the head is. So right here, this part is the head, and I'm gonna go ahead and label that to the head. And I apologize for the handwriting. It's kind of hard to write with this head. Okay, so now we have this end, the anterior end, where the head is, and also the mouth. Right here, they have a mouth, because believe it or not, they gotta eat, and they do have a mouth like we do and other animals do. They have a mouth. Okay, And then this one, the tail and the head. So I was saying that all over their body, they have these little lines that we could see, and those lines that they have all over their body are called segments. Can you say that word with me? Segments. Segments. And they look like little lines or ridges like that all over. So I mean, you could just put as many, when you draw your picture, you could just put as many as you can. Which, by the way, as I'm doing this, since I'm drawing this picture, kindergartners, you're welcome to have your notebook with you and start drawing your own scientific illustration of an earthworm. So now we have labeled 3 of the structures: the mouth, the head, the tail. Now, I said that all of these lines all over are called what? Yes, segments. So let's spell that, and I'm going to put it right here because I'm not going to have much space. S-E-G. Am I going fast? Let's slow down a little. Segment. Segments. Oh, I just made a connection. We are doing the short E word families, and I see the word men, E-N, right here. And even this part at the beginning of the word has an E-G in it. Segments, okay? That's what all these lines all over the worm are called. And here on this fatter part, there are also some segments, okay? So make sure you draw those if you haven't done so. Now, this fat part, I told you, it was called the clitellum. So let's spell that word because it is really long. This is a consonant cluster, C and L. Oh, if I just stop right there, I see another word family that we're studying this week. E-L-L, tell. Oops, U and M, clitellum. Now, the clitellum is where the adult worms hold the eggs. And this clitellum hold the eggs, and then what happens is as they move, the clitellum starts sliding until it comes completely off. And when it comes completely off out of the head, then it closes up and it turns into a cocoon. And that is where the eggs stay until they are completely ready. Okay, so let's review what we have here. We have, and I'm trying to get a different color so that we could see this. We have the tail, we have the segments, we have the head, we have the mouth, and we have the clitellum. So now that we have those parts, I'm going to label some other parts that are equally important for you to know. Some people wonder why worms feel rough sometimes. And worms have like an upper part and a bottom part. So the bottom part, which is kind of like the part where the belly is, feels rough because worms on each of these segments, they have some tiny bristles kind of like a toothbrush or a hairbrush. They have some tiny bristles called setae, and those setaes are kind of like Velcro. It helps them cling onto something so that they could move, or that they could protect themselves if another animal, another creature is trying to get them. So they look kind of like these, and we call them setae because they are tiny, tiny, tiny little hair on the bottom, and they are called again setae. Can you say that with me? Setae, setae, and it is on almost every segment, all the way through. So let's spell the word setae, and I'm gonna do it over here so that I could have more space. Set. Oh, if I stop right there and I chunk the word setae, I could see another word family this week. Set. Set. Setae. That is the name of those tiny little bristles on the bottom, what makes the worm feel rough on the bottom. Okay? Setae. So also a very important structure in the worm is their skin. See how we have our skin that protects our body? Well, the worm, the earthworms, also have skin, and this skin, they keep it moist. They keep it kind of damp, feels almost wet all the time, because that is how they breathe. Okay, so they use their skin to breathe. B-R-E-A-T-H-E, to breathe. They breathe through their skin. So now let's go ahead and review all these structures and their function. We have the skin for breathing. We already talked about the tail end, and out of their tail end, I have to tell you, I think you're gonna laugh, out of their tail end, they discharge. That's how they go to the bathroom. And what comes out of their tail end are like dirt and dead leaves, pebbles, and those little pebbles, they are called castings. Okay, castings, and we spell it like this: C-A-S-T, cast, I-N-G, castings. Okay, castings. So now we have the tail end where the castings comes out. We have the skin that they use to breathe. We have the clitellum where they hold the eggs. So the eggs are right here in this part. Eggs. We have the setae, which are those tiny bristles on the bottom that act like Velcro and help them cling on to something so that they could move along. The segments also help them move. That's how they move, and they go around segments, and we spelled this in the previous slide, segments. Segments. Okay, and we have the mouth that they use to eat, their mouth, and their head, which is what they use for digging. They use their head for digging. They chew or bite or eat their way through with their mouth, and all that dirt, everything they eat, kind of goes all the way through their body. So let me show you this. They are right here, and they start digging with their mouth, and their head and eating with their mouth, and all of that dirt goes like this through their body, through their body, through their body, and all the way through, all the way through, all the way through, and it comes out here as castings. And they keep eating, and these keep coming, and they keep eating, and these keep coming, so that they could continue tunneling underground. So now we've seen all of those body parts and structures. So I'm going to show you a complete picture of what this scientific illustration looks like. Here is our completed scientific illustration of an earthworm. As I said, just to review, they have their mouth to eat right here, and I guess I could use a different color highlighter just to show you. They have their mouth to eat. They have their head to dig. They have paired setae, which are the tiny bristles in most segments. They have right here the clitellum. This fat part right here, this ring, is the clitellum or saddle, which is where they hold the eggs. We have all over their body is covered with the skin, and they use it to breathe right here. They have their tail end, and what comes out of their tail end is called castings. And they have their segments to move. And a super cool fact, check this part right here in red. Can you believe that? Worms have 5 hearts. 5 hearts. Interesting fact. So, what have we learned so far about earthworms? Well, we learned that the anterior part has the head and to dig and the mouth to eat. The clitellum or saddle holds the eggs for the babies. Paired setae on almost every segment to crawl. In the posterior part, they have their tail end to discharge their castings. They have segments to move, and they have their skin for protection and also to breathe, because they do not have nose. So they breathe through their skin. So what do they look like? What do worms look like? Well, you could see this picture right here. But earthworms are thin or fat, and they're very wiggly. They can be short or long. Where do they live? And pay attention, scientists, because in kindergarten, as writers, we are writing non-fiction stories. We are writing all about books. And if you learn at least 3 facts about worms, then maybe your next story could be all about worms. So where do they live? Well, they live where roots spread out like underground trees. Do you see all these roots right here? They live underground. They live where it is cool and dark. They live in damp places. Do you think they could see the sun if they are under the ground? Underground? No, it's pretty dark down there. What do they do? And how do they do it? Worms are wonderful diggers. They dig passageways and burrows, which are holes or tunnels underground. They eat their way through and move along. That's what I was explaining to you a little bit earlier. They just go munch, 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 swallow, keep on digging, munching, 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 swallowing, so that they could dig their tunnel, their path where they're going. Do they eat? Yeah, I just mentioned that. Worms need food, like other animals, like you, like me. We need to eat, but they eat dirt and rotting leaves, and then they swallow just tiny, tiny, tiny pieces. And then inside of their tummy, the food changes. The food changes, and once it changes, it kind of turns into tiny little pebbles, like a mixture of the leaves and the dirt and everything else. And that comes out of the tail end. And we already talked about it. It's called castings, but those castings, oh my God, they are so good for earth. They make the soil rich so the plants could grow beautifully. How do they move? Well, they stretched out long and thin, and then they squeeze in short and fat, and they stretch and squeeze and stretch and squeeze, and they eat and dig and move and eat and dig and stretch and squeeze until they make their way through. How can they see where they are going? Do you think they have eyes? We didn't mention that structure at the beginning. No, they do not have eyes. Worms don't have eyes to see. They don't have ears to hear. They don't have nose to smell. Worms feel sounds with their whole body. To them, when we stomp on the ground, when we step, when we walk, to them feels like thunder, like a storm. What happens to all the dirt they dig? We sort of covered this at the beginning a little bit. Earthworms, they mix and they turn the dirt as they dig and tunnel in the earth. And they make the soil very, very soft and airy so that the roots of the plants can breathe and then grow beautifully. Do worms go to the bathroom? Do you remember that from the beginning? Yes, they do go. Not to a bathroom like the one that you or I will go to, but they do go to the bathroom. The dirt and tiny pieces of leaves they eat comes out of their tail ends, making the earth rich so that plants can grow. And we already said that the worm's discharge is called, do you remember? Oh, I'm pretty sure you're saying something really silly and funny right now, but we're scientists, so let's get serious. That is called castings. How do they help us? Are they important? Yes, they are very important. Worms are like the underground gardeners. They mix the soil, they fertilize it to help the plants grow. Without their help, the earth might not be the rich and beautiful source of life that it is. Okay, some cool wormy fun facts. Did you know that worms can eat their weight each day? Oh my God, that's a lot of food. Can you imagine if you could eat the amount of food as much as you weigh? Wow! In 1 acre of land, there can be more than 1 million. Oh boy! That is a small piece of land, and it could be like millions of earthworms there. The largest earthworm ever found was in South Africa, and it measured 22 feet from its nose to the tip of its tail. Oh, whoa, that's a big, big worm. Okay, and worms can grow a new tail, but not grow a new head if they are cut off. If by mistake you were to stop on it and the worm breaks in two, the part that's the tail could regrow. Yeah, but I mean, no grow a new head. Yes, that's right. But if the part that gets cut off is the part of the head, then they will not grow a new head. They only grow the posterior part if it were to be cut in half or in pieces. Still curious about worms? Want to know more? Do you know that worms have 5 hearts? Yes, you do, because I told you that at the beginning. I just thought this picture was so cute. And if you want to draw a really cute worm at home, you could use this picture and not this picture. This one is for us as scientists. This one is for us to be creative. All right, time to test what you learn. So let me see. Let me get a pencil ready. And let's see. What do we call this part at the end of the worm where the casting comes out? What is this part right here? Yeah, it's the tail end. So let's write it. A, O, tail end. Tail end. And we call it the tail end because there are other structures there that we do not learn in kindergarten. So this is the tail end. And the other end, what is it called? Yes, you got it. This is where the mouth is, right here. Okay, so we are going to label that part right here the mouth.
Yeah, well, we put the whole
mouth. But just know that right here,
makes us feel good.
all of this right here is the head.
On the roof, even though they're not viable without all those,
the head.
kickbacks,
And there we go. Head. Now, this fatter part in the middle right here, this part right here, where the eggs for the babies are stored. Do you remember what that's called? Yeah, begin with C. Yes, clitellum. The clitellum. So help me spell it. I cannot hear you. C. Yes. L. I. Clit. E. O. A. Clitellum. Clitellum. Okay. And then all of these lines all over its body, what are those called? You know that one. Segments. S. E. G. Men, like more than one man. Men. Segments. Segments. Wow, we've learned so much, kindergarteners. All right, so let's just hear about some other cool facts. And I know I mentioned all of this throughout, but it's kind of like a review. Okay, so do you know that they cannot bite people because they do not have teeth? Yeah, and they are slimy because their skin needs to be moist in order to breathe. Also, moist skin help them move through their burrows. If they dried out, they will not live anymore. That would be pretty sad for the worms. Their belly side feels rough because they have tiny, tiny bristles called, you got it, setae. And those, the pair setae helps them cling to its burrow if a creature is hunting them. And it also helps them just move underground. So, what do you think happens to them in the winter then when it gets cold? Well, in the winter, they go down, 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 below the freezing line, and they curl up in their burrows. All right. Whoa, scientists, now that you know some facts about earthworms, find a paper and a writing tool and write a non-fiction story. Your non-fiction story title, all about earthworms. I'm really, really looking forward to reading your stories. I think that's it. I wanted to mention our credits. A lot of the pictures and the information that Mrs. Mulder used in this video are from this story. This story is called Wonderful Worms. The author is Linda Glazer, and the pictures are by Loretta Kropinski. All right, so my friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have fun learning interesting facts about the worms, and I can't wait to read your All About Worms books. Be safe, be well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.